We're here in Zona del Silencio. Agent Ryan now materializing.
Materializing. Agent Mora walking up normally.
Yes, here you are. Good to see you again. Hello, Rhonda, Yolanda, Royo. How you guys doing? Miss you guys. And no Agent Alex here yet. Your new intern and agent trainee, but you did get to meet. Right. You did get to meet him though. Our little friend, Alush turned human. Last time we're out here, how's that been working out thus far?
Great energy, very enthusiastic. So much energy. I can hardly keep up. So it's all right with the part-time hours. It's fine. He's doing good.
Yeah, I agree. I actually got to spend a little time with him myself a few days ago because I let it slip. I was going to the Rougarou Festival back home in Louisiana. And so they asked me to let him tag along to get some field experience. It was fine. He was good. He's back here. He's delivering his findings right now. But we'll bring him out here sometime. He's already familiar with the terrain. He lived out here for weeks.
Yeah, that's true. That's always it's a good quality for people to have.
He's a fun guy. I was surprised out there. He was very, very well behaved. He was a little measured. I think it's the first time actually being out of here. So it was nice kind of watching him in that element. Being, I don't know. I guess we got to worry about that, the Rougarou.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, I don't know, there's other people I would worry more about, in a public setting. Like you said, he's human now, so he's going to have human qualities and everything too, which, like curiosity. I don't know how curious he was when he was in Alush or anything like that, but seems like a normal person.
The one thing I did notice that he has held on to, though, it is hard to keep him in that uniform, in those clothes. He still has that instinct to just want to be naked, but
trying to turn everything backwards.
He's coming around, but yeah, he's anxious to get back out here. But I'm ready to get back something too. I'm ready to get back to research. And before that, it's time for the notes from the desk of Media Vive Isa. We got a note here for Agent Mora. Congrats on being selected for the Occult Studies Workshop this Friday in the Learning Annex. You will join a select handful of agents in studying the latest methods and technologies to defend against occult violence. Oh.
Well, okay.
Yeah, that's a little out there class.
It sounds a little intimidating, a little scary, but I'm up for the challenge.
I don't know. I haven't been asked for this, but you have a note from me for Agent Ryan. For chaperoning Agent Trainee Alex on his first field assignment and sacrificing your personal time, your team has been chosen as official testers of our experimental new quick-release stun weapon dubbed the MDC, or Maestro de Choc. Please use in accordance with all safety regulations. Yeah, look, want to see this thing? I have one for you, too. Gloria set it up early. Look, it just looks like a bracelet, but watch, if you hold your arm up like this, don't. We shouldn't probably hit it out here, but
I'm gonna watch you first.
All right, watch. It just goes like this. Okay. I can't do it for long, but yeah, these are pretty cool. Yeah. So I don't know.
Sparkly.
That's pretty cool. I like getting the gifts. And it was fun taking Alex out there anyway. So I'll take it as a bonus.
Yeah, for sure. Lucky you.
No, you got one here too. You got to set yours up. Look, they brought one.
I will. I don't trust it. Yeah, I'm gonna mess with this shit later, dude. I'm here to, every time that I come here, I'm a little disoriented. I'm a little woozy. And the last thing I want to do is go tinkering with new stuff right now. I'll mess around with it while we discuss our next topic.
That's true. I mean, one more thing. We got our zone advisory from Associate Jamie. Agents, be on high alert. Since your absence in the zona, multiple ZDS employees have been targeted for attack and robbed of their weapons and uniform.
What the hell?
Be prepared to defend yourselves and do best to not part with any company property.
Hey, maybe I'll figure out this bracelet thing sooner than later. Let me see.
Yeah, I think we were kind of given these for a reason. Yeah, I talked to one of the security guys at the other gate, and that did happen there. That I don't know if it's a Halloween thing. Maybe they think our costumes are cool and they want to take them, but I don't know. Some weird stuff. We haven't been here in a little bit.
Wait, so it's happening on the zona? In the zona?
I think that's what they're saying.
Okay, because I mean, that's not a Halloween thing to come onto a place like this and just attack, random agents and employees and steal their shit and steal their weapons. That's not Halloween.
I don't want to lose any of my stuff, but I doubt anyone wants a piece of us. We're getting notorious out here. So let's get to today's case, number 13, alien abductee Jim Sparks. And yeah, Mora, this is our first ever abduction case. It was about time, right? I think the closest we've discussed is Rael, but he wasn't really abducted. He went pretty willingly.
Yeah, that's different. He was exploring and he wanted to find that stuff. This is usually abduction kind of implies a lack of will in the other person to go along with it.
Yeah, he's more of a contactee. There's a big difference between abductees and contactees. And as far as abductees, but we're already pretty well versed in the, this alien abduction field. We've talked about people like Betty Barney Hill, Whitley Strieber, Travis Walton, I don't know, to a lesser extent, Tom Reed. These are all pretty controversial cases, particularly Travis Walton.
Mm-hmm. I would say most abduction cases are pretty controversial.
Yeah, but Travis Walton's a little more. It seems like every couple of years, someone's coming forward. One of his old logging buddies has something new to say constantly. I don't know. I think one that isn't controversial, though, I'll go out there. I think Calvin Parker of the Pascagoula abduction with the wrinkly aliens, or ugly MFer as he called him, I believe him, man. I sat down with that guy, I interviewed him, and also his wife, and he seems incredible to me.
Yeah, there's something about a person's demeanor and what they end up doing about, their situation. Either they're going and talking about it just in order for themselves to kind of heal and process stuff, or they have a certain stink about them where you could tell they're just trying to get a certain amount of fame or attention or money, but sometimes it's just the attention. And Calvin Parker doesn't seem like the attention grabbing sort.
No one's ever really gone after the guy in any kind of serious way. I feel like, this whole cottage industry is around figuring out that Travis Walton, wasn't real, army of debunkers at all times. But I gotta say, the one thing that always bugs me about a lot of these famous abduction cases is the use of hypnosis to recall memories of being aboard spaceships and crafts. And I get it. It seems like the aliens do their best to cover their tracks, and that, it takes some kind of hypnosis professional. But I don't know, it never sat right with me.
How do you mean? Just that's how the memories were recovered?
That seems to be the primary method. I mean, pretty much almost everyone involved in the abductee thing.
Like, it's like too clever of a plot device, right? That it's like, well, they wiped our memories after, or I, didn't want to recall the memories, so I repressed them. Repressed memories are in general very, it's still kind of branded as pseudoscience.
And it's seems like it's a memory of a memory almost by the time you're getting it out of hypnosis. But there's one abductee that does not have this problem. This is a man who claims to not only be a lifelong alien abductee, at least a long time one, but also to have a 90% memory retention of these events. And that man's name is Jim Sparks. So let's talk about this guy. Jim Sparks, he's a normal guy, with a successful career in real estate. And in 1988, when he's 34 years old, he starts to have encounters with alien beings. And these encounters start off as recurring dreams that he is being awoken by something. He's walked into his guest room, and then he's walked through a wall and into the woods, and there's really nothing after that. And one night, it became extreme, though. While he was being walked in his dream, he became conscious, and he starts to realize that he's not in a dream, but he's also not in control of his body at all. But again, he has walked into the woods, then back through the wall, and I assume is put to bed by these beings. And when he gets up the next day, he remembers all of this. So he goes into his yard, which at the time, his yard is covered in what he calls honeysuckle leaves.
Yeah.
And he sees his footprints from the night before going through these honeysuckle leaves with the heel print ending at the window. I guess it's a big picture window in here. And the rest of his footprint is inside the room. There were honeysuckle prints in the house, Mora.
Okay, so I was going to say footprints inside the room. That's interesting. It sounded like they were taking him out to walk him to go to the bathroom, like with a dog. Because they walk him out into the woods and then they walk him back home. But so the unnerving thing is that he walked out there for what reason, and then just to walk back to apparently through a wall without having wiped his feet.
There's a bit of foreshadowing too, because now that I think about it, he has a bit of a pet of these beings. But this incident, so now to himself, he's kind of proven that what he saw actually happened. He's not having a dream. This is when he becomes conscious of all these things. And this is the beginning of a decades-long series of abductions that Jim Sparks would be a part of. And also remember, that's the big part of Jim Sparks. He remembers everything. He realized as these went on that what was happening to him was that he was being walked out of his house into the woods where an ET craft was parked there waiting. And he was then taken aboard the ship for, let's say for now, different purposes.
Different purposes.
Yes. And he talks about two different ways of being abducted. That, because, You have to take a lot that this guy says because he's actually remembering things. This is not pulled through hypnosis. He says there are two methods that are used to abduct him. And he refers to one method as the easy way. And that's the one where there's some kind of technology being used that allows anything in a certain field that you can just pass through solid matter. And that's what's happening to him in these early ones where he's being walked through a wall, walk through his bedroom, that there's a technology that's very convenient that you can just walk through anything solid.
That's what I was wondering at the very beginning of this when he said that, mentioning the going through the wall or having to walk out to where a UFO was waiting for him to transport. When I hear so many different accounts from people saying that they levitate up from their bed and like through the wall, through the window into the craft, or that they just simply wake up there even.
You're right. And maybe the same technology can be used from above, but then the floating is involved. Why would they be walking them through it, right?
Different species, maybe it's different technologies. Like that's probably just how many different types of people from other places are actually visiting us.
And see, what you're talking about, though, the floating through the ceiling, that might be what he refers to as the other method, which is the hard way. And the hard way of abduction is being transferred to a ship that is in the air and moving. And he claims that when this occurs, a horrible buzzing will start in your head. It will start to get progressively worse to the point where you wished you would just die. And the next thing you know, you were aboard the alien spacecraft, that this is a very extremely painful method of doing it when it is up in the air. So maybe it's not as peaceful as just that beam coming on you.
Yeah, that's not peaceful at all. That sounds really painful. Maybe, I don't know why they would choose to do things the hard way, unless it's easier for them, harder for us.
No place to park.
And they're just like, fuck them.
Yeah, well, they do say fuck him a lot because these experiences are horrible for him. Once he's aboard these ships, he has no idea what's going on. He can't even see for a long time who's doing it to him. He occasionally will catch a glimpse out of the corner of his eye. He's a constant state of fear. He's got no one to talk to about this. It's awful. And it's mainly awful because he can remember it all. It's like you almost feel like the other abductees or maybe just the regular kind of abductees who forget everything. That's almost better. Well, you don't have to constantly think about how terrible this is.
Ignorance is bliss, yeah. And then when you can't remember things, you can invent them.
And that's why people are always crying in those regression videos, where the hypnosis people really break down. Because I guess, that it is truly horrible. He just gets to process it all and remember it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing, too, is it sounded like at times it's partial memory. So I have to wonder how many times he was wondering if he was just kind of going crazy or was having like very vivid dreams that were bothering him because it was starting to warp the edges of reality,
See, I think the dream thing, he really did think it was that for a while, but it was that whole honeysuckle incident. It was getting those things on his footprints and seeing that footprint go through the wall.
Once you see a physical evidence of something there's not really a lot you can explain away about that.
It's almost like the reverse of lucid dreaming, where instead of becoming conscious in your dream, he's breaking out of the dream and he's doing, breaking out of his
The dream
alien.
is trespassing into reality.
Yeah. Something like that.
Pretty creepy.
Yeah, it is. And I gotta say, while we're searching this, I found back at ZDS, at the AV department, they have a huge collection of Art Bell Coast to Coast AM tapes. So I found a couple of interviews doing this research that Art Bell did with Jim Sparks. So I smuggled out, check it out. Look, it's the old trusty tape recorder from Mothman Fest. I brought it out here because I want you to hear some of this from Jim Sparks himself, who believed that these early abduction experiences and their terrifying nature was what he called an alien boot camp, that they were preparing him for what it would be like to work with beings from another world. And much like boot camp, they are breaking him down. And Art Bell can relate because, hey, Art Bell, he was in the Air Force. He went through Air Force boot camp in good old San Antone. And Art wants to know more. So look, I'm just going to hit play here. I hope this works.
In San Antone, there were a lot of people after 3 or 4 days of this. They were screaming, me included, "Mommy, I want to go home. What the hell have I done to myself?" That was, with a good Earth-like, though harsh, frame of reference. You had no frame of reference.
None.
How did you keep from going bananas?
Hate and anger. And I think it's what kept 90% it got up to 90% of retaining everything in my face that went on. Total hate, and well, I should say total anger and total hate, intense hate and intense anger. I screamed, well, some of the words I use, naturally I can't use on the air. Where am I, and who are you, and why am I here? And I couldn't even figure out for a second why. But
were you able to vocalize all of this? In other words, if you shouted invectives or whatever, you could actually make a sound, and you could hear that you were making a sound.
Yes, and then my tormentors at the time, I guess you could call them that, would paralyze my vocal cords too.
Oh, indeed.
Oh.
So this is how Jim deals with these beings who he learns are gray aliens. He yells at them, he kicks them, he tries to beat them up, and that is his entire approach to being aboard their ship. He chooses violence every time.
Just very unruly, very uncooperative. I wonder what he was like in school, and I wonder what he was like in the military. If he was in the military.
I'm not sure if he was. I know Art was. I don't know if Art was getting away with being like this. But so yeah, that's what he can remember all this. Once he's aboard the ship, he is really trying to give the Greys the business. But eventually, he's always restrained in some manner, and he is put to work by the Greys. And let's talk about his Greys for a minute, because according to this guy, according to Jim, on this ship, there are two kind of gray aliens. There are the small, 3 to 4 foot tall, the large, classic big-headed, large almond-shaped eyes. He says these are the worker aliens, that they are complete drones, and that these are just robots that are created by the true Greys. And those are the actual aliens. They're a little taller, they're about 4 or 5 feet tall. Their eyes are a little bit smaller, and they communicate 100% telepathically and through what he calls screen imagery, which I think we learned at some point is just monitors. They just didn't understand the concept of monitors at the time. It started in 1988. I don't blame him. But that these Greys, these true Greys, they show no motion or personality, at least at first. And they use all their technology is controlled with their minds. But yeah, this is his alien boot camp. What do you think so far?
I mean, so far, this makes sense. I mean, it makes sense that he's going to be rejecting all of this, but it also makes so much sense that all of it's going to be telepathic. And how can you really fight against something that's just kind of being shoved into your brain, especially when it's just like, I guess I was having a hard time understanding what he meant by the screen imagery also, and it being a monitor. I was kind of picturing, flashes of images just kind of being projected subliminally, like that was telepathic, but I guess those were actual screens as well.
They're actual screens that he's talking about. He just had a strange way of putting it, because he claimed he didn't really know a lot about computers at the time, that he learned later that just big screens, and yes, with images on them. And so he's doing this alien boot camp, and this would go on for nearly 6 years of being constantly abducted and brought up here to do this. And what they were trying to do is they wanted to teach Jim Sparks their alien language so he could communicate with them non-telepathically. So every abduction, he is sat down on a metal slab in front of a big screen, as a screen imagery, and symbols appear, and telepathically in his head, the alien would say like the letter A, and all he had to do is draw the symbol that he sees on the screen. But since Jim Sparks is just fueled by rage and hate for these guys, he, of course, just refuses. He probably curses at them until he starts feeling pressure in his head, which would only subside if he would just comply and write the letter. See, this is when being that bombastic against them kind of backfires. It's like it is pretty cool to learn an alien language and if to avoid getting hurt in the head, but every step of the way he fought.
Which is kind of silly, because at some point you're going to have to realize, either it wasn't that horrible of a punishment that they would put him through, or he just is that obstinate, If that was happening to me, I think I would totally kind of comply, where you realize you don't really have control over when they're going to not contacting you is such like a benign way of saying it, but really just straight up take you. And sometimes it hurts even when they're fucking abducting you. I totally would have started playing ball a long time before he did.
Well, you might even more so when I tell you that once you would comply and actually do the symbol and learn the lesson, you would get an intense feeling of euphoria, that it would just fill your body, that they were somehow controlling this. They did it. But this made Jim even madder because he realized what they were doing. And he's like, I know what you're doing. I know if I do this, you're going to make me
training me like a dog.
Yeah, he's their lab rat. He is become like their pet. Maybe they were trying to they were learning to take care of him first. Go walk him in the woods for a minute, bring him back. You're practicing this. And now he's up there.
They have little training pads for him and he doesn't want to use them. He's like defiantly peeing on their stuff when they leave the room, because animals do that. They're very vindictive at times. But I think it's silly because you do have the intelligence to know that what's happening here in this case, they have the upper hand. They have the leverage. If you're actually getting something out of it, I mean, they're so powerful. They could totally just be mind raping you left and right and just putting you through huge, sheer amounts of torture. You have no say in it. That they're giving you any little shred of anything positive after all is like, okay.
Well, I think they're doing it
for me.
They're doing it because they really want him to learn their alien language. They're using this whole punishment.
So many people in the world they could have used too, though. That's weird of them to focus.
I don't know how he fit. Yeah, that's the other part that blows me, that he is so just combative, but they're like, no, this is our guy. So they use this whole punishment reward system, and the euphoria, that's just one reward. And he doesn't really care about that, though. The other reward is that they would answer a question for him if he did a good job, I don't know, playing Gray Rosetta Stone. And I have that on here too. Let's listen and see if we got this.
So one particular evening, I knew I had done well with some ambiguous puzzles and symbols, and I could tell that they have no emotions. If they do, they're not emotions that I can understand. But I could sense that they were pleased with it, so I screamed out, who are you? And of course, I gave them a snide answer after they told me, because I didn't like the answer. And it was so corny, but they said, "We're star people."
Okay.
Star people.
That's
what I said. Star people. You're star people. I said, I'm a people. You're not a people. You can't. The star part, I can believe, but people, you are not people. So I still wasn't embracing alien ways, clearly at that point.
Yeah, great comeback. I don't know, star people can be people too, right?
Yeah, what's the definition of a person?
Yeah, why is Jim Sparks defining it? And we've heard, though, that the indigenous would speak of the star people. Maybe that's what they meant. Maybe that's the relatable term. This is a term that has been used to label us before.
They seem so smart that they could have chosen a more relatable term, because clearly Jim Sparks is not Native American.
True, but maybe they didn't think he was that smart either. Like, I don't know. Maybe
then again, why are they picking him for all of these experiments and language, translation duties? I'm sure there's a lot more people on the planet who are, one, more willing to cooperate. Hi, me. And then two, who also love languages. Hi, me again. Like, I want to be chosen for this project. This is so annoying.
Yeah, he's just learning it out of spite. But he doesn't want to, he wasn't want answers. That does seem, yeah, you want the euphoria. He doesn't care about that. He wants the answers.
He wants baggies of weed too.
And tons of questions they won't answer, though. They probably would answer that. But they don't answer, because we'll find out they're into collecting things of that nature. But so you have this alien boot camp, goes on this full 6 years. It's a constant abduction, the training sessions, until he is able to use this new telepathic symbol language. I think he mentioned that Q and Z weren't a part of it for some reason, but whatever. They don't need that. And eventually, after learning this, he gets a little more trusted. I don't know why he's so violent, but he started being shown more things. He's shown more technology. And one of the things he's shown is a really cool technology. It's a small coin. It's about like the size of a 50-cent piece, but a little thicker. And what this thing does is, I don't know, more name a movie.
Name a movie?
Sure.
Fox and the Hound.
So yeah, if this little coin is flashed at you, you would be able to absorb all the information and the emotion and adventure of the Fox and the Hound instantly. That film would instantly go into your head. That's another convenient invention.
No, I don't think that's convenient. That sounds like traumatizing. That sounds like damaging. I almost feel like we're not capable of processing that much in such a short amount of time. That's like if a fly gets stuck in a microwave when you hit start. I think we would just explode from the condensation of emotion. Sounds like a bad idea.
Think about no more wasting time binging shows or getting real far into a movie before
The
realizing
time
it sucks.
invested is what makes it so good.
You get the journey, I think. I don't know how it works. I've never been flashed with a
I've
movie.
never watched a movie. I don't know.
I actually asked you for a reason. I had to listen. I listened through these tapes, and not only did Art Bell interview him, but George Norrie did too. And he did the same bit to both of them. He asked Art Bell. He goes, "I don't know, Art Bell, name a movie." And Art Bell said Old Yeller, which I thought was funny.
That's funny that I picked Fox and the Hound.
Thinking about the emotion that would go from learning Old Yeller in a second. And when he asked George Norrie, you'll never guess what he said. George Norrie said, "It's a Wonderful Life." Like, that was the first movie he could think of.
Interesting. Because that is a lot. And honestly, I've seen that movie a lot. And I will say the amount of emotion that I feel from it is it's not one of the deepest I relate. I can feel it. I'm not saying it's nothing, but I can think of so much more. Like, if you want to challenge this concept of all of the emotions being condensed into, a nickel or whatever.
And then flashed in your brain really quickly.
Yeah. Imagine of Mice and Men.
Give me a coin and I will. We can get it over with.
Let's get this over with.
Yeah, I want to see the new Rock movie. Just get it over with. Think about it, you can just get stuff done. Yeah, you can still enjoy stuff. Like, everyone's talking about this stupid movie. I don't want to watch it. Okay, got it. It was dumb.
Great, now I feel dumber. That was not worth. I want my half a second back.
True.
People are going to say shit like that now.
But they're not doing that to him. He's not forced to watch Old Yeller or Fox and the Hound. One of the ways they use this info coin is to show Jim the history of the natural state of the earth. They show him the clean, pristine oceans of the past, and then they kind of slowly over time show how man has polluted the waters. And then they show him our imminent future, where the oceans are no longer sustainable and the planet is doomed. And that's a fun movie to watch.
Yeah, it's like the ecological version of Christmas Carol.
That's what it becomes. It becomes very ecological, everything that starts happening. And even though he's graduated this boot camp, he's still being abducted regularly. But now he finds during a lot of these abductions that he is not the lone human on the ship, that new people are also being abducted at the same time. And when these new people start to freak out and panic, I don't know, maybe have some of the tendencies that he has, the Greys tell Jim Sparks to calm them down. Like, he has kind of become almost their employee, their trained human helper. And it's odd that they would invest this training into someone. Why wouldn't they do it to someone who wasn't actively trying to kill them at any chance he got?
There are billions of people on this planet, and I can think of, just off the top of my head, I can think of at least 5 or 10 who would willfully join up with this cause. Who wouldn't be like, "Oh, fuck you guys. You guys are evil." They'd be like, "All right, I'm game."
There's going to be a few factors in this. I mean, one of maybe be his memory retention, but he says that's all just due to his nonstop rage and anger, that he's just like the hulking out, constantly raging about these guys. And that's why he remembers everything.
Yeah, because the angriest people have the best memories.
I guess so. But see, he's starting to learn more about the Greys while he's on there. Now that he is a little more trusted, he doesn't have to go through boot camp constantly. And I have another part of this tape for you to hear, because he did get to ask some questions. He's seen a lot, and we kind of want to learn some of the things he's actually seen. This is about the gender of the Greys and if they have sexual organs or not, because that's something
I've always wanted to know.
I wanted to know it too. So here, let's see if it works.
They're I don't know if they're wearing clothes. I don't know if it's a suit, because they either look naked or it's a real thin suit.
I was about to ask that.
Skin.
And they're not. There's no sexual differentiation.
The groin area is, if it's covered, you can't see it. Now it's like mashed in, so where you couldn't tell. But I always get a sense, and I have over the years, that better than 95% of the Greys that I've encountered were male. And on rare occasions, I've have had experiences with a feminine touch where I thought it was women. Now, kind of where I was going to go later, but I'll touch on it now.
No, that's fine. Why did you think, I mean, other than, with no obvious sexual reference, why would you think male or female?
Well, as the years went on, and as the interactions evolved, see, I was always paralyzed. They finally cut me loose. In fact, the first few times they cut me loose, I kicked one. I always wanted.
That was another question, whether you had any physical interaction. I was about to ask that too.
Yeah, it took them a lot of years to let me loose. Now I wouldn't hurt them now, but all I ever wanted to do, and I would scream this at them. All I want to do is squeeze your fat heads off your squeeze your skinny little necks to your fat head pops. And if any opportunity I had to turn me loose to kill them, that's all I wanted to do. And that's what I was mentioning earlier, the loathing and the anger is what kept me in one piece.
Again, violence is Jim's go-to. They're just asking him simple questions like, hey, does this alien have a wiener? He's like, I don't know, it's kind of mashed in. Anyway.
It's great, yeah. Those questions followed by, well, now I just want to squeeze you till your head pops.
He's like, honestly, you talking about whether, yeah, they're mostly men, and man, that's really making me mad. And I was thinking about that
Where's
too.
all the chicks? Yeah, he's angry.
Crescent is the only female known gray that I can kind of think of, like a named one. And she was wearing a wig and everything, so kind of to differentiate.
That's why I really have to wonder about just how many different groups there are out there and how many we're just kind of lumping into the same shit, or at least are just being misidentified.
See, he's with this weird crew that is there to train him. He's not having the fun that like other abductees, like David Huggins. I don't even know. I guess you call him an abductee, but he sounds more in the contactee where he's having fun.
Oh, he was contacted, all right. Yeah, he had a lot of contact.
Yeah, he just he flipped the he got the bad side of the movie coin on this one. Jim did, having to constantly.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say David Huggins kind of won the entire extraterrestrial encounters lottery.
That's true. Yeah, he's got enough babies to fill a whole
Doesn't
Star Cruiser at this point. But speaking of Star Cruiser, so we were talking about him being on this ship, and I mentioned they started seeing other humans aboard the craft. And it wasn't just these other abducted humans that he was seeing aboard. He started to notice that human military members were on this ship as well. He identified the uniforms as them being U.S. military. Who else, right? And
right.
That they're working with the Greys. So this was one of the things he asked the Greys about he did particularly well. He asked the Greys about this, and they said that sometime in the past, around the 1940s, the dawn of the atomic age, when the whole universe is getting very nervous about us using atomic weapons, that the Greys made deals with our government and that certain technologies were shared and that there was a treaty written up because their concern, back to ecology, was that we were going to destroy this planet and they do not want this to happen. But unfortunately, according to Jim, humans broke every treaty that was established between them at the time.
That makes sense. Yeah, I can see that happening.
Yeah, humans are the worst, especially the military government types.
They cannot be trusted. Like, there's that age-old question, is man, humankind, are people, inherently good or inherently evil? And I've seen all kinds of takes on that, artistically and film and all of that, where they handle the question pretty well, except it always ends up being like, nope, they're inherently evil. And I don't believe that. I just think that it's such a toss-up. There are some people who would truly always do good and do the right thing, but they end up getting stomped on by the people who wouldn't.
I was about to say, those ain't the people getting to the top. There's no way you're going to get to the top with that attitude. You got to at least go up. If you're going to be good, at least you have to be kicking and screaming. We're learning.
Yeah,
so maybe,
you gotta slit some throats on your way just to show them that you're not to be fucked with. And then you can start doing the right thing, I guess.
That's why they're so into this guy. They're like, I don't know, maybe they need someone like that, and maybe it was just also convenient to park near his house, maybe live somewhere. A lot of the good people you were talking about, they probably just live in places where they would have to be pulled up the hard way every time. Not fun.
Yeah, probably great restaurants where he's at. Good bars.
Yeah, they got to get in all that stuff too. And so, yeah, he's seeing U.S. military involvement here. And he tells one story of seeing a U.S. military person aboard a ship, and that this person was putting an abducted woman, a non-military woman, into some kind of tube. And this tube, he claims, is somehow involved with the hard way of getting up there, of where your head is pulsating and you're pulled up there. I think there's some kind of tube involved, just like the internet. And this tube that's part of this hard way of transporting people on and off the ship. And so he's witnessing this, and he does not like what is happening. He thinks that this military officer is going to roughen this woman up. And as he's relating the story, he talks about another piece of alien technology that I found really fascinating, and I definitely want to get my hands on.
And then next to him was a true alien. And And there's this rod that always appeared. I maybe sometimes can talk about it. One of the tools I've seen on board a lot was this thing that looked like almost like a wand, like a magic wand, but it wasn't. It was like a technical tool wand that done a lot of things, and it was something with thought, and they could focus it on things, and our people were messing with it too. Mm-hmm. So our guy, officer guy, had this wand, and it looked like he was a rod. It wasn't a wand, but a rod, and he was about to touch this girl with it, and I did not like that, and I don't know why I had a connection there. I knew that I didn't like the fact that he was doing that, and I started to get up off the table, so it was like they brought me there first, and the officer, the one that had the rod, told him to stop. He says, "I'll handle this." And so he didn't stop me, and I was going up to touch this girl, and I reached inside this thing, and there was no glass, and I was trying to feel her, and I couldn't feel anything, so it was almost like a hologram. I was trying to grab her, and then he said to stop, and I wouldn't stop, and he took that rod, and he tapped the back of my hand with it, and it stung. I went, ow! And then he did it again. He kept tapping it, burning and burning. It hurt and hurt until I finally stopped.
God.
And I then found myself back on the gurney.
Yeah, they got magic star people rods.
Wow, that's insane.
That is some weird technology. And the fact that I like how he's acting like the military guys are just screwing around with it. He's like, the aliens use it. I don't know, we're all kind of screwing around. They pass it around.
I'm sure that, look, I don't know what to make of this. It sounds like such a fantastical story that I just don't know how much to give into, like, even just like, yeah, and then they had magic wands.
You think it's getting a little fantastical here? That part is really, it's really hard to understand. And this guy remembers this. This is not from any kind of hypnosis. No, this is fact to him. He saw this happen. He's saying, I'm trying to pull this woman out of the tube, but she's like a hologram, and this guy's got this rod, and I don't want him to touch her with the thing. And it sounds like, I don't know, like high emotions going on, the way he's even recalling it.
Everything has been such high emotions for him. Like, there's the amount of anger that he feels as soon as, like, from the very beginning, the way he describes it as like loathing and just pure unadulterated hatred. It's like, yeah, I don't think he has like a low mode. I think he's just kind of always pushed to 10 in whatever emotion he's feeling.
He is. Maybe that's the challenge for them too. With like, look, if you can control this guy and get this guy to learn a telepathic sign language, and to maybe not try to grab the rod out of the guy's hands, like if you can control it,
maybe that's why he's so special to them, is that he's got just this huge amount of energy output, because he's just like a maniac and he can't be stopped. Yeah,
and they want it. They like him, having him like as this liaison. Like he is maybe they don't want to deal with humans as much. Like, if you could teach you this telepathic thing and you kind of know enough, you can answer the questions. We don't even like answering your questions. We definitely want to answer everyone else's questions, because they are on a bit of a mission. There is a whole kind of point to everything that he's involved with. And his role as this human liaison for the Greys, it came into play again when he talks about a mass abduction event that he was involved in. And this is an event where he claims that nearly 1,000 people were abducted at once. And he was there kind of at the head of the humans. He was there to keep everyone calm, all the people involved. And the purpose of this seems to relate to certain humans, that they must work to save the planet. That there are certain people that were selected as part of this that would somehow be of an important role in doing more ecological things to help save the natural order of the planet. And that is the main point of the alien intervention. They do seem to truly care about the fate of the Earth. Maybe not so much the people, but at least the fate of the actual planet.
Yeah, this does feel like the midway part of the movie, where the plot is like really, it thickens, and you see all the aliens are not to be feared. They're here to help us. Is it to help us? Or is their motive lying somewhere else? So we're still halfway through the sci-fi action film at this point. I'm
thinking that too. If they really want to save this planet, there's an easy way and a hard way, much like abducting people. I think the easy way is to just fry us all.
Get rid of all humans.
Get rid of us all. That's the easy way, and then then the planet will just take care of business on its own. I think
the hard way is pulling teeth, subconsciously, and like learn our symbols and languages so you can teach your people. And then have the same amount of struggles that we've had teaching you. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
not
the
gonna
hard way.
look
Find
good.
the most obstinate dude on the planet. Try to make him
Out
your
of the most obstinate race in this
and
galaxy.
make him your whipping boy and make him learn all this stuff and then get all these other people. The thing is, I say this about him, and he has all this rage against him, but he usually does. He worked in real estate, that I mentioned. He was already well off, but he worked for real estate companies that would buy big wooded areas with the hope that most of the wooded property would stay that way. That they could be building there, but he kind of was trying to keep a bit of a balance on all the property that he would buy as far as keeping the natural order of things, at least in the areas where he was able to make a difference.
Yeah, and that's good. That shows a good streak in his personality, that he wasn't chosen for just his anger issues, because that's fun to imagine a real estate agent with anger issues.
He seems to be a good guy when he's not being put through all
He
this
seems
stuff.
totally fine. And listening to him talk, he seems very, self-aware. He sounds very calm, slightly self-deprecating at times, and just very, he has like a good sense of humor about things, oddly enough. But I guess maybe it's been enough years put between the incident and him, and he's grown older and wiser, maybe softened his tone a little bit. But I mean, he sounds perfectly sane to me. That's the funny part about all of this.
He does. He does like to be a badass, though. He does like to talk about his badassery. And one of the things that he mentioned earlier, we heard him talking about that, how upset he was when they mentioned they were called star people. Well, he finds out eventually that they don't want to be known as star people to everyone. They want to be known as the keepers. And in fact, that is the name of Jim Sparks' book about this experience. It's titled The Keepers, An Alien Message for the Human Race. And by keepers, he means that they have been collecting things from this planet for decades, talking about seeds, plants, all form of life and DNA, everything vital to life on this planet. They have it. They are the keepers. That is one of their purposes.
Like a trapper keeper. Or being kept safe in Velcro.
Not a creeper keeper or not a trapper keeper. They are just the keepers.
That's what I don't get about stories like these. I don't know if we can trust, if there was like a species, some kind of being that came up to me and said, we're taking care of your species and everything. We've got everything documented. We've got it cataloged. Again, why? What's that motive? Like, that creeps me out. Who are you to have that kind of authority? It's such a weird thing to say and to assume over another planet. And I know that's what we do on this planet, looking at biologists and archaeologists and their need to kind of document everything. But that's our own planet. So it brings up a lot of interesting questions and thoughts.
It does, and to think about the fact that would they ever have to actually use all the stuff that they have? Like we must already be in big trouble.
Why are they so interested? Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have our DNA and stuff? Like, oh yeah, sure, go. You guys will be here too. Like,
okay, that wasn't unnerving. Yeah.
No. So more fun with Jim. So far. He's talked about the two types of grays that he dealt with, the workers and the actual aliens. But there is a third type that he saw as well. And this is a 6-foot-tall, scaled beings that have a large cranium. That he says these large craniums, it looks like their brains are just bulging out of the top of their head.
That sounds painful.
So he met these things, these scaled 6-foot-tall things. He was sent into a room with 12 of these things. They're sitting in a semicircle before him. And this event is referred to as the communion. And he never says straight up that these are reptilians, but it's kind of heavily implied that these are probably reptilians, even though not as tall as the reptilians that we would imagine, but the scales and everything, the big brains.
Yeah.
This is an important event. So he's put in front of like almost this council of reptilians. And I have some of the transcripts of this quote unquote communion. I'm going to read this now. So here you go. There are some things you need to understand. Yes, it's true that we have been in contact with your government leaders and heads of power. It is also true that agreements have been made and kept secret from your people. It is also true that, in the past, some of your people have lost their lives or have been badly hurt to protect this secret. Our hands had no part in this. We contact your leaders because your planet is in grave trouble. Your leaders said the vast majority of your population wasn't ready for anything like us yet, so we made time agreements with your leaders as to when your people would be made aware of our presence. This part of the agreement has not at all been kept. Again, this is the proof he has that these treaties were broken. And we get kind of the nature of these. And here we go. Quote, reptile monster. It was also agreed that, in the meantime, steps will be taken to correct the environmental condition of your planet with our advice and technology. We say advice because we respect the fact that this is your planet, not ours. Your government also broke this agreement.
What? Okay.
Again, yeah, it's like, it's almost like real world politics. We're constantly like, screw the environment. We got to make some money.
Yeah, where agreements and your word don't mean anything. And that's an interesting concept too, is the idea of honesty and integrity and sticking to your word, that's an actual value that's held across at least this galaxy. I don't know where they're from exactly, but I don't know. That's a fun idea.
People will break promises with even the most powerful beings in the galaxy. These
The audacity.
telepathic space lizard monsters and their gray friends, and they'll lie to them. Oh yeah, we got this. We'll do this treaty.
Unbelievable.
It is
Such hubris.
This is part of this. This is a quote from Jim himself. He says, "Quote: I felt an awful emotion of abandonment from these aliens. They are different. I never sensed true emotion from the other aliens before, but the feeling wasn't at all good. It felt like great loss. I couldn't help but asking, 'You aren't giving up on us, are you?' There was a long pause of silence and had a strong feeling of tremendous loss. So I asked again, 'Well, are you?' Well, he's getting real upset. There was another long pause. Then finally, quote, 'No, we are not concentrating our energy on the average person. Your air and your water are contaminated. Your forests, jungles, trees, and plant life are dying. There are several breaks in your food chain. You have an amount of nuclear and biological weapons, which include nuclear and biological contamination. Your planet is overpopulated. Warning, it is almost to the point of being too late unless your people act now. There are better ways of deriving your energy and food needs without causing your planet any damage. Those in power are aware of this and have the capability to put these methods into worldwide use.' And then he asked, 'Why aren't we doing it now?' There was a silence, and the whole thing was so strange because I could see that the whole group was thinking and speaking its mind at one time. It felt good because I was the participant in an honest-to-goodness meeting." Wow, he's really feeling one with this Council of Lizard Men.
That's good.
And he says the best part was that for the first time, I was getting direct answers to my questions. Why aren't we putting these new methods into use? Those in power view it as a military and security threat. Oh. And then this is the most predictable part. Then I got angry as hell and said, "You mean to tell me our people in power have the ability to save and better the planet and they aren't doing it? The thought that technology is being held back from the public because of paranormal greed outraged me." And the alien saw his anger. So yeah, he ended up just raging out once he learned the truth.
That makes complete sense. This is exactly how the movie is supposed to go.
Yeah, when you feel like you're the last sane man on Earth.
Mm-hmm. Get your, damn alien hands off my planet. Oh, wait, you want to help us? Oh, wait, it's too late. What do you mean our leaders actually have the key to it? I've been betrayed by my government.
You blew it up. Damn it. Yeah, we need to write this. We need to put it into a little coin and flash it into everyone in Washington, D.C.'s head, and then they'll understand.
It wouldn't take much time, yeah.
Yeah, why don't they use the coin to do that? Just show everybody this. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like the aliens so wisely told him. It comes from military insecurity. I think that was the term. And
he's even asked, he kind of pressed on this. This is the kind of question I would have too. It's like, well, if these guys were all breaking these treaties, why did you go to them in the first place? There's got to be, and he claimed that, well, no, they did it so long ago. This was before the government were bad. They were actually good guys. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, that was the most confusing part.
Yeah.
It's like, no. And now the mission of the Keepers seems clear. They want to save the planet, and they want humanity to be saved also to some extent. And Jim Sparks mentions that every abduction would always end with a semen extraction. Just wanted to get that out there.
That's always fun.
He made sure to, and he said sometimes they would even use that movie coin and they would show him like naked women and other sexy stuff to get him going. I was like, you didn't need to mention that, Jim, but he wanted to let you know that there was a lot going on with that. And,
just in the spirit of transparency.
Yeah, he made that sound like a fun part. He's like, he didn't bring it up at all, but he's like, oh, by the way, they definitely did this every time
Just
as
so
well.
you know, I saw naked girls every time.
Everywhere, and them, but yeah, he's making him sound so bad too. I don't know. He got the euphoria. He got to watch the movie clone
Sounds pretty
stuff.
cool. They're trying to help your planet out. You're seeing naked girls. You're getting.
He kicked one of them one time.
Yeah, and they could have killed him after that, you know? So, I mean, he needs to chill the hell out.
Yeah, but this whole story, it's shocking, especially the fact that he is the one that the aliens feel so comfortable with. I have another part. This is the last part of this tape I want to play. I'm going to set it up a little bit. So we know he wants to do harm to these guys. He's been very clear about that since his first abduction. And his abductions, they happen pretty regularly. So why doesn't he just attack them before he's brought on the ship? When he's more like, when he's at his house, when he could do something about him.
And then why bother sending him back if they have so much power over everything? And they shouldn't care about his, I don't know, his social life, or he clearly doesn't. I don't know. How many abductions he said he was going through at the highest point, and that he couldn't talk to anybody about it anyway. These aliens totally could have just kept him.
Or keep somebody over, maybe what's going to happen, or there's some factors. But he did try once, at least. He did try once to stop them on his home turf in his house, and it's pretty hilarious here.
Right around the end of the 6th year of this going on, that I was going to shoot an alien, because periodically they would come to my home. And so I had went and bought myself a .357 Magnum.
Oh.
And I went, and this was during a period when I was just dead set. The next time they walked through the walls, I'm not going to sit there like a dummy. I'm going to shoot them. I'm going to shoot one of them. And I, to get up my courage, I went and bought a bottle of vodka. One particular evening, I was sitting on my easy chair, and I had the .357 in my right hand, and it was loaded, and I had the bottle of vodka in my left hand, and I was just drinking it straight out of the bottle, and I started hearing some noises in the ceiling, so I knew I was about to get a visit. And so they came through the walls, taking this pistol, and I'm pointing it at him as he's walking around in the house, and I'm saying, I got to pull the trigger, I got to do this, I got to do this. I take another swig of the vodka to get my courage up, and I'm going to do it. And he walks over to the television set, and he starts fooling with it. So then I yell out something pretty rude like, you guys come a godzillion miles, you got all this technology, but yet you're so stupid you don't even know how to turn on a television set, and I'm going to kill you. And I cocked the trigger, and I pointed the gun, and my hand was shaking, and I couldn't do it. And telepathically, he didn't even turn around. His back was towards me. He said, we know you're not a killer.
Yeah, I guess they did.
Yeah.
No, you're not a killer.
Yeah.
They did those tests.
They know, the aliens know that Jim Sparks is all talk. They have his number. He's no killer.
I do love how they were trying to mess with the TV, and that as soon as he called them out for not knowing how to turn on the TV, they just stop and they're like, it's just, we really, really want to watch Saturday Night Live, and if you could please put it on for us.
You're holding the clicker. You're probably messing with it. No, actually, he's not, because he's got, you got a picture. He's sitting in the easy chair. The gun is .357 in the right hand, bottle of vodka in his left. He's ready for total action. I love how he's got to bring out the vodka, the straight vodka in this.
I was drinking it straight out of the bottle.
You madman.
No, just like a picture of that.
I'm a real estate agent with a real problem.
Yeah, vodka straight out of the bottle is disgusting. But also, wouldn't the aliens be able to telepathically turn that shit on if they wanted to? Like, I thought they were supposed to be really, really, really smart.
Well, I guess not. And he was calling him out for it. Maybe they thought it was like their own tech. They don't know. They don't mess with TVs enough. They're like, all right, they're used to abducting this guy. They're not used to him sitting there drunk with a gun pointed at him. So maybe they're just trying to play it off like, no, we're here to check on the TV.
Oh, yeah. Maybe he was so drunk he didn't realize that they were actually just trying to embed like a chip into it that's going to like monitor his TV watching habits, kind of like the Nielsen.
Yeah, he become like an alien Nielsen family.
Yeah,
they can flash those symbols at him occasionally. You know, kind of at home learning.
The beginning and ending of Burger King commercials, I think, is perfect for that.
Oh, that would really mess with him too. So maybe that's one of the reasons why he's going through all this. They knew initially, like, no matter what this guy does, he's all talk. He might scream a lot. He might kick. He might even hold a gun at us, but he's not going to shoot us. He's not going to do anything. He's a tough SOB, but he's going to help us out. I think that's kind of what it came down to.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the main agenda underlying has to do with keeping the planet safe, undoing all the pollution and the harm that we've done. And that's definitely, I don't know if it's from the aliens or if it's from Jim Sparks, but that's definitely the main agenda is stop fucking with the planet, please.
Yeah, maybe the aliens looking around at the kind of people that are very into saving the planet. It's all like these hippie kind of crusty dudes. He's like, none of these guys are scrappers. They're not going to get in. They're not going to fight for it like I need to. There's only a few people that fit this very specific mold. And this guy's one of them.
Well, and no one's definitely going to listen, though, as long as they're trying to bring to light the fact that it has to do with the insecurity of countries and their military sizes. That's what Jim seems to, I mean, the aliens seem to have deduced about Earth and our people. They couldn't, that's why they can't abduct the leaders, the world leaders themselves and, scare them straight because their egos are too big.
Yeah, they tried with them already. That was the first approach. And like I said, they broke every treaty. And
didn't matter.
Yeah.
Not gonna matter now.
I hope it's not too late, man. Jim, I hope he's still working. But we need to get out of here soon. But before we conclude, I would like to talk about a very special reward that Jim Sparks was given. We've heard about the Euphoria and the other things, maybe a complimentary movie here and there. But this is a reward he was given for compliance with some of the Greys after one of his very successful training sessions. The Greys handed Jim Sparks a mysterious black box, and they said, "There's a gift for you, Jim." And so after struggling to figure out how to open this thing, he finally gets inside of it and is hit immediately with an overwhelming stench. And so he looks inside and he sees that inside this box, there is some kind of disgusting black goo or tar that really, really stunk. So immediately, Jim flies off the handle. He starts cursing at the aliens, yelling at them. He's like, I'm sure you can imagine. He's like, I do all this and you give me this crap for a present? No, F you. So he's screaming at him. But this terrible gift he's received. Then the Greys tell him that this goo, this stinky goo, this was extracted from inside of Jim's body. Because Jim was a longtime smoker, and inside this box was all of the built-up tar, cancer, whatever else that was inside of his lungs. And as a gift, they removed it all from him and gave it to him as a present.
That's pretty solid, but they could have presented it better.
I would say they could just tell you they did it.
Yeah. Or just give it a photo. Here's a photo of your lungs.
X-rays.
Look at here's a clean scan of your lungs. We did this. You're welcome. Instead, they have to do that whole make them feel stupid, make them wonder what it is. Like, hey, try to open this box, stupid. Try to figure it out. Oh, you can't? Try it this way. Oh, he's going to do it now. Look at, he thinks it's gross. What is that? What do you think that is? I don't know. Look, he's so mad.
Oh, God, he tasted it. He licked it.
Of course he would.
Wait, hold on. We got to get that out of him. This is not part of the present.
Yeah.
Jim be like, I wanted that stuff. I'm going to actually eat it and put it back.
Right? With his level of stubbornness. He's like, well, screw you. You think you're going to extend my lifespan, you think? No, not you, not me. Yeah. Eats it back up. Starts, as I'm sure he started smoking again. I think I've heard.
I think he did. Well, so the follow-up on it was that he said it worked, though, that he felt way better after this. His breathing felt great. It felt like he had never smoked. And for a short time, he did quit, but then he did start up again. But it almost felt like going, oh, that's fine. You're just starting smoking. You've got a fresh set of lungs.
You've got baby lungs now.
Sure. And that was actually, that's one of the only few, I guess, if it ever got analyzed, kind of physical evidence that he was ever able to retain from any of this. Because he said that he was never allowed to take anything from the ship, even though he remembers everything aboard there. He also remembers the fact that no stealing allowed was a policy. Mm-hmm. He was not allowed to take anything home. And it made me think, I was like, he should just gank something like that guy did with the Beatles tape. He wasn't supposed to take stuff out of Dimensions, and he did that.
Well, I remember about that black box. He was like, what the hell am I supposed to do with this when they gave it to him? And they said, do with it what you will. And he's like, well, fine, it's mine. It's a gift, right? So that's why he started trying so hard to open it, getting all violent with it. So he should be allowed to take it back with him. It's his.
It's true. Yeah, maybe it was more like a thought that the gift itself, pulling it out, you can take your clean lungs home with you. That's the gift.
That's the gift. Oh, this is just a symbol of the gift. Look, this giant check, you can't really take it to the bank. you don't really have a key to the city, that kind of thing. It's a symbolic gift.
Yeah, the symbolic black jar of lung tar. That is.
Well, I guess what wouldn't be symbolic, we could, ask him to provide any kind of scans or something from before, but I don't know. Maybe he hadn't gone to the doctor.
Yeah, if we would need the before as well to be able to compare it. And he did start smoking again, so if he took it now, it might not. You might be like, well,
very
very
clever of him. I doubt he ever actually quit.
Yeah, I don't know. And I don't know. We don't ever quit either, but we should head back. So tell me, Mora, what are your final thoughts on Jim Sparks, alien abductee?
It's just I don't really feel the level of authenticity that Art Bell was so, I don't know, plied with and compelled by. The fact that he was saying that, I think that was the thing that was the most credible to Art Bell, was that he didn't need to have, like you were saying, the hypno, regression to unlock these memories. To me, that just says that he never saw a hypnotherapist, and that makes it even less real, because people write stories every day, whether it's fantasy or sci-fi, which sci-fi is kind of fantasy, but you know what I mean. Very, very valid, very, very brilliant imagination. And I think at one point he was asked, like, why, or have you ever checked out such and such work by so-and-so? One of the callers asked. And he was like, no, and here's why. Actually, I have a very good reason. It's so that I don't get, influenced by other people's, and like that my memories stay pure that way and not kind of, clouded by other suggestions, to which we, can just ask, like, did he really stay away from that material, or is he compiling and kind of, doubling down,
kind of covering a base,
adding that to his own? Yeah.
Being like, well, mine was exactly the same, but I've never heard of that guy. He also gives himself a couple of loopholes where he talks about how the missing time element of this, that these are beings that can, are interdimensional and psychic and telepathic, and also time travel can also be involved. So he talks about how he's missing time events. When these things would happen, he would be brought back to the exact time that he was abducted. He also mentioned once he was brought back like a minute or two before he was actually abducted. He saw his own self in his house go to the refrigerator, make a sandwich, then get abducted, and he just sat there and watched, which is technically time travel to him. So he can include time travel on his resume as well.
Yeah, it just seems very Deus Ex Machina with the amount of technology that these aliens seem to have, and can cover any kind of plot hole, yet can't seem to do other things like communicate telepathically with more of us to drive this message home that's so dire to them. It's also the way that he answers questions when he's confounded with something that maybe he wasn't ready to answer. It's the, certain questions that he should have immediate answers to.
He was really good at changing subjects.
Here and there.
Yeah, he was really good at starting. We even heard it in some of the things we played on the tape recorder here, where he would just take the story. If he got tired of talking about it, he's just like, oh, let's talk about kicking them. Let's go back to that.
Another thread. And he will. I will say very, very clever. That look, he fooled Art Bell that much. I just don't believe him. I don't.
Maybe I get very excited with Art Bell's excitement is the fact that his first appearance, he did another extra live hour because he was just so enthralled with this story. And look, I'll say this. When Jim Sparks came forward with this story, he appeared on Art Bell, and who extended that interview the extra hour. He released a book, and then he returned to Coast a few times. He shared his message at a few lectures. But then Jim Sparks ducked out. He has never sought fame or Hollywood attention. All he did was share his message as he was instructed. He stood his ground to the Greys. We'll always remember him for that, for being a fighter. But he really just went back to his normal life. He was already well off financially before any of this happened and during all this. And even just something that's always kind of important to us, he was never a believer of UFOs or aliens prior to this. He's got no history of being into these kind of things. And he didn't really seem to be in the game of embellishment for fame and monetary gain. It didn't seem like he really pushed that which, you could be said about other people involved in this kind of phenomenon. He's not on, he's not showing up for autograph signings in every convention, throwing the story. He's just back to his normal life.
Book.
He did write one book, and he kind of
Maybe
ducked out.
He just failed at it and then didn't want to keep going.
Maybe he did, but his message is positive, and
It is positive.
and what he experienced kind of fits into a lot of known UFO alien lore that we know he doesn't know about. I like this story. I know he's still out there. Maybe we should try and speak with him. And oh look, hey, someone's heading our way. Look, all right,
Of course.
that's one of our guys, though. Look, man, this guy, he's really booking it. That is a ZDS uniform, right?
Well, yeah, there's not really many other uniforms.
Whoa. Dude. Slow. Ow! God damn it, hit that thing. That's a fucking humanoid.
Oh, no, it's not.
Jesus Christ, thank you. What?
Oh, shit. I don't.
Okay, so.
Humanoid, they look human.
All right, but this is definitely one of the deformed dudes. Look, he's got the uniform on. All right, dude. I know you can't hear me. You are under arrest for impersonating a ZDS agent and hitting me. You have the right to remain stupid or whatever you are for attacking us. God damn it. Do we have to drag this guy out of here?
I'm fucking call somebody. Or
Yeah, I'm calling somebody.
We're not
These guys
bullied.
are too big. All right. God. Yes, calling in. Come pick up this idiot. Fucking look. It's the second time I've gotten punched out here. Ridiculous.
Zona del Silencio is underwritten by ZDS Inc., ZDS R&D, and the Zona del Silencio Media Outreach Department. If you have a case that requires research, we can be contacted through Zona del Silencio Podcast at gmail.com, at Zona del Podcast on Twitter, and Zona del Silencio on Instagram. ZDS. Research, observe, disseminate.